Alright, what up, y'all? It's Metaphor back for more. They kick the ball, representing everyone's Gemini verse. We're gonna do a video on the moon in Gemini. The moon in Gemini being mutable air, being able to adapt to other people's ways of thinking and communicating. So, if this individual isn't communicating with you, this moon sign in Gemini, then they're thinking instead of feeling. Generally, the moon in Gemini, when they're quiet, they just want to deal with the current circumstance and emotion that they got to adapt to, and then just move on to the next one. That's the air element. So, with the moon in Gemini, like I say, it's an air element. So instead of feeling, they tend to think and communicate about it. So if the moon in Gemini is comfortable with you, they'll communicate all day. They'll communicate about any and everything. Once they have a thought in their mind, boom, they'll communicate about that. Then boom, if you are having the moon transiting in Gemini, like say we have the next moon in Gemini we'll have is a Capricorn. I'm sorry, Aquarius sun with a Gemini moon will be the next one, because we just had the Gemini moon a couple of moon signs ago. Probably about, well, yeah, we're in the moon in Sagittarius now, so this is the opposite moon to Gemini. So with this moon sign transiting, you'll be able to communicate and also think about what you want to adapt to in the future accumulations. So with that being said, whenever the moon in Gemini is going through the sky, it depends on which sign the sun is in as well, how you're going to act it out. But the sun just does what the moon is feeling. So the moon feels comfortable communicating and thinking in Gemini, and also communicating about mercurial things. So they feel comfortable communicating about communicating in general and how communication style is. They feel comfortable communicating about languages, learning new languages. This is the thing for Gemini. So especially in the moon sign, because they feel comfortable with that mercurial thing. They always want to have their mind in different places. So one thing that is also an aspect with the moon in Gemini, it'll be feeling comfortable doing two things at once. So communicating with someone and maybe even listening to music at the same time. That's two things at once. Also, maybe you're listening to somebody do a lecture and you're also listening to music in the background. That's another example of doing two things at once. Or even, let's think, counting two things at once. You know, you have, say you're doing an order at work and like you're a chef. You see what I mean? You have to have a certain amount of things for each order. So say the order calls for 4 different things, you may count up all 4 things and then boom, one at a time, execute each number of the needed things. You see what I mean? I'm kind of dipping into my own little realm. You see what I mean? I actually work as a chef as well as do this YouTube. You see what I mean? So that's what I'm working towards, is to have a community in my YouTube, and then also be able to travel and spread my community worldwide, and then be able to communicate with people and do consultations and do lectures and do all types of things. You see what I mean? That's what I'm shooting for in these next coming years. You see what I mean? So we're gonna keep on going hard on the astrology, and anybody want to holler at me for an astrology lecture or reading, let me know. That's a big tangent. But yeah, so this is my alignment, the moon in Gemini. See, I have that in the back of my mind while I'm communicating these videos as well. So I'm a living expression of the moon in Gemini. So, like I said, I broke down the individual that you're dealing with the moon in Gemini. An individual as yourself with the moon in Gemini would be, you feel comfortable doing two things at once, like I say, and you feel comfortable thinking, communicating. If you don't think and communicate, that's a circumstance maybe you shouldn't. If you don't communicate, you're thinking about the circumstance. Maybe this isn't the circumstance I should be in. Maybe I shouldn't adapt to this communication style and things that are going on in this environment. And then if we're looking at the moon transiting in Gemini, then we're going to be at a mutable point in our emotional build-up and accumulation. So if we're in Sagittarius season, that'll be a full moon, so you don't want to communicate too much about like random things. You kind of want to stay on the things that you know and keep knowledge and wisdom about things. So it's like those That's the opposite alignment from the Gemini moon. That would be a full moon alignment. And then you have obviously the sun in Gemini, moon in Gemini. That'd be a new moon alignment. So you want to communicate about new things. You see what I mean? This is the examples I give for how you could look at the moon transiting in the sky. You see what I mean? And then if it's just in between the two, a new or full moon, then you want to look at the moon in Gemini as an adaptation period. So if you're having communicate with a certain individual, maybe you'll communicate about communicate to that individual now, and you'll feel comfortable talking to them and things like that. Maybe just having that conversation in general, just speaking your mind. You see what I mean? Because you have that thing in the back of your mind and you feel comfortable thinking about it, but then you feel comfortable talking about it as well whenever the moon really does transit into Gemini. And then boom, you can actually take action on maybe something that someone's trying to teach you. These mutable points are good for that. So yeah, that's the moon in Gemini, and I'm gonna keep on going hard with the videos. You dig what I'm saying? I look to be caught up, like I was just mentioning in the Taurus video, I look to be caught up with the current moon, and then we're going to keep on doing the moon transiting the houses every time the moon moves, and then we'll look at it with the alignment to the sun, you see what I mean? And then other planets as well. So yeah, much love and holla back at me. Peace out.